Hello again. I'm Dan. Welcome back to Vinyl Fury. I have another several records that I've acquired in the last few months to show you, and this one just came today. I actually ordered it with the next record from Amazon UK because both this and the other album seem to have higher quality and preferable pressings in the European market than the US. This is John Coltrane, Blue Train, from Blue Note Records. This is from the Blue 75 reissue campaign. I think in 2012 and 13, Blue Note started a archiving campaign to archive all their records in high-resolution digital and subsequently release those high-resolution digital files on several websites and things, and use those to create new, more inexpensive vinyl pressings. You know, jazz records especially are known in the audiophile market. They're usually done, sourced from the tapes and have a really nice engineer like Bernie Grunman do them. And have very nice, quiet pressings, and they're often at least $50. So that's just not sustainable to the wider market for the younger people, or just people on a budget, or people that aren't that crazy about having everything sound like that, and they just want to have the music on this format for, $20 or less, and that's not unreasonable to expect. And so that's what they're doing. They're reissuing pretty much everything. They've been doing this for the last couple of years. I think it's been somewhere like 5 a month, at least at first. That's what they were doing, and this was one of the first ones. And I think it was mastered by Alan Yoshida. A lot of them were done by Bernie Grunman. So I've never had a copy of this, and I've looked into getting copies of it before. There was a Blue Note reissue a few years ago that had a CD, and I heard that it wasn't that great. And I looked into finding an older pressing, but there's just so many of them. And like I said, those audiophile pressings are very expensive, so it was nice to have one that was affordable, and I heard it sounded pretty good, at least the European one. So all of these in America are pressed at United, and United sucks. And especially for jazz music, you want as low of a noise floor as possible, because this music is not really loud, especially most of the time. So something pressed at United most of the time is going to have not a pleasing sound from the vinyl itself. And that was the consensus from what I read, and I read way too many forum posts on this whole reissue campaign. And long story short, in the European market, they were pressed at Optimal in Germany, which is much better. For a short period, I guess they were pressed at GZ because Optimal was backed up, and those were still okay, just not quite as good. I'm pretty sure this is an Optimal pressing. Anyway, but I just played the first side. I dropped the needle, it was quiet, and the music sounded really good to me. It does have a slightly digital quality, I guess, but it's clear, and it had a really nice presence, and the vinyl was really nice. And it was worth ordering from the UK to get that. And it was no more expensive. I'm pretty sure it ended up being cheaper than it would be getting it at a local store. And I'm quite sure the product is much better. And I've already talked about this for too long. Anyways, if you're going to get the Blue Note reissues, try to get them from the European market. It seems that across the board, they're just better. And I also ordered this, Opeth, their last album, Pale Communion. Now this is kind of a story as well. I ordered it from Juno They had the right catalog number for the European pressing from Roadrunner. And that's what I was looking for, because in the States, it wasn't pressed at United, but it was something like PLX, something I'm not really familiar with. But a lot of people said it was pretty noisy. This record is fairly dynamic and has some quiet stuff, so most people found it not the best pressing. But the European pressing was done at MPO, which is generally pretty good. And again, I got this for no more than it would be in America, shipped from the UK. So that was pretty cool. But Juno sent me a US pressing somehow, which is really unfortunate. And I had to pay to send it back to them, even though I told them it was warped. It's just really a hassle. I really don't think I should have had to pay to send it back to them, and it was expensive to send it back. It was just not cost effective for anybody. And I still haven't seen a refund for that, and that was a couple weeks ago that I sent it back. But I got this from Amazon.co.uk along with John Coltrane. And this pressing is definitely much better. This is a great album that I enjoy the more I hear it. I've listened to it, I think, 3 times. Very warm production. It has an analog sound. I don't know that it was recorded to tape or anything. But just the way it's mixed, it's quite dynamic, and the bass drum especially is very punchy and warm. Definitely has they're going for more of a progressive rock 70s style. But this and their last record, Heritage, which I also quite like, compared to their older death metal growling vocals. He doesn't do that anymore. This is still really good music. Very good progressive rock. It's still a bit metal. And the European pressing is definitely preferable. And I finally got myself the music on vinyl pressing of Core from Stone Temple Pilots, their first record. There's a double LP with a etched D-side with the cover etched onto it. And as with the other music on vinyl titles from Stone Temple Pilots and several other 90s alternative rock titles that they've reissued, this is quite good. I believe that they were provided 24 192 digital copies from the tape, and those were used to do these, and they sound quite good to me. I really enjoyed hearing this on vinyl. Original pressings are, just out of the question, and I don't know, it probably doesn't sound better than this. This one especially is pretty expensive. It was unavailable for a while after Scott Weiland died. Not surprising there. But I think it's been repressed for music on vinyl, and I see it. I'm seeing it more places online, so you should be able to get this again. So when I ordered Opeth originally from Juno, I also ordered Tiny Music from Stone Temple Pilots. Also, great sounding pressing from MOV. I believe I had this before, and it was a bit warped, and I returned it and intended to order it again, and for some reason never did. So it was nice to get this back in the collection. It sounds actually really good. This album, I forgot how layered it is, and I listened to it in headphones, and it sounded fantastic. You can tell that it was recorded in a live-in situation. They all lived in a house together while they recorded this over probably a few months. And it just has this relaxed quality to it. You can tell that they just kind of did it as it came, and it wasn't really churned out. It was a gradual thing. Also because the way it's recorded, there's definitely different guitar tones switching back and forth in the same song. It's definitely more of a collage than like a, one take quick recording, which lends itself to a pretty immersive sounding record. I really enjoyed listening to this again. It had been quite some time, and this is a great sounding version of it. So when I was getting the Deftones record, I saw this in a clearance bin. Everything was 40% off, and it's pretty much like the stuff they ordered too many copies of and still had several and were trying to get rid of. So this is the latest Silversun Pickups album, which came out, I think, in the fall. And I didn't even know about it. I have their last album before this on vinyl. So somebody was very kind enough to send to me. And enjoyed that quite a bit. This is definitely a more synth-driven sound than the kind of 90s alternative vibe that they had before. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It is different. Some people aren't too big of a fan of it, but this is their fourth or fifth album. They can't do the same thing over and over again. It's quite well done. It sounded really good. This was pressed at Palace USA, so it's actually a really nice pressing. Very clean black vinyl. It's also a 3-sided with an etched D side. This is the etched D side, which, as far as I can tell, lifted from the images on the label. Kind of hard to pick up, but pretty cool. Trees and stuff. So I got this brand new, sealed for about $13.25, which I had never heard a note on this thing, but I figured, knowing what I knew about the band, and that it was so cheap, I just got it. Definitely worth that price to me. And this is an example. Normally this record would be like $22 to $25, but it's pressed at Palace USA. It has a nice quality jacket, polylined inner sleeves. There's nothing subpar about this. But yet some records have lesser quality in some or all of those aspects and are more expensive. So this proves that it can be done. And this isn't even done on a major label. New Machine Recordings, which I've never even heard of before. So it can be done, and it needs to be done more often. Not much to say here, but I did finally pick up Volume 4 from Black Sabbath. This is part of the Rhino reissue series from a few years ago, cut from the original tape. I forget who did this. It might have been Chris Bellman. And really nice, warm, and long-sounding cut of this album. It was a little bit off-center on one side, and of course it's the side that the acoustic track is on. So I could hear it just a little bit, not completely distracting, and I tried another copy of it, and it was the same thing. But this was like $16. And again, a decent pressing, a nice gatefold jacket that's thick. It's Black Sabbath. It could easily be more expensive than that. But it's not. So, more of this, please. And this album, I've had this album for a while. It's one of the first new records that I got when I started collecting. It's part of the Capitol Vault reissue series, and most of those are considered not great. Most of those are mastered by Ron McMaster, who's also considered to be not great most of the time. And it was definitely not a revelation of a vinyl pressing. It sounded okay. I pretty much preferred listening to it over the CD. But in the last couple of years, I think it was like 2 years ago, I don't know if it's just Coldplay, or I think it might be Capitol in general that is either part of Atlantic, or Atlantic has the rights to their back catalog. And so now when you find this in the US, it's a Atlantic Parlophone pressing, a different cut. So I figured it would be worth taking a shot on that, and I had heard that it sounded a bit better. And it does, and it's a nicer, cleaner pressing. Let me look, it might be NPO as well. There's no indication of where it's pressed in the dead wax. It's a machine stamped matrix. But looking at it, it might also be recording industry from the Netherlands. I guess that wouldn't be a surprise. It's very clean. It looks great. And it also came inside of a polylined inner sleeve next to the printed inner sleeve, which was a nice touch. So this album, I'm pretty sure, just the way it's mixed, it was mixed a bit hot. And some of the, especially the vocal tracks, were pushed a bit, and there's some sibilance that I think is just on the recording. I didn't do a detailed comparison when I was listening to this. Musically, it sounded pretty good. There was some sibilance, though, and I think that's just part of the way it was recorded. And some clipping. There is just no audiophile version of this record, really. I love the space that this album has. Bass notes are really great. Delay guitars and stuff. Really spacious. Piano, deep piano. It sounds good, but there are aspects of it that are just, not perfect. But this is definitely a better pressing than the Capitol one, and if you are seeking out this record, look for the Atlantic Parlophone icons rather than Capitol. I think an original Parlophone is maybe slightly better, but not by much. So this is probably the way to go. Alright, so I finally got through this stack, and I have a few more that I'll just have to keep track of and show another time. This is my once every, 2 or 3 month entry. I'd like to do it more. It's just not always enough time. And as I said, I don't buy that frequently anymore. So after a few months, there's enough to get together the show. So anyway, I'm almost about to run out of time again. Thanks so much for watching. And Record Store Day, I am going to go out for just 2 albums that I'm looking for. I don't think I've gone out early the last 2 Black Fridays. I think it's been since Record Store Day proper, 2014 or something. I don't know, it's been a while. But I really want the Pinback record and the Deftones covers album, so I'm hoping to show up early enough to get those. And I'll talk about them at some point. So, again, thanks for watching, take care, enjoy your music.